Hey guys, I can't believe it's not butter, but I actually can believe it's not butter because I can't believe it's not butter. It tastes like complete garbage. It doesn't even remotely taste anything close to butter. Did they even try to replicate it, or were they happy with the subpar version of butter? Here with another video. On today's video, I'm going to cover one of those super dope special card tricks all the kids on the street like to do, and drugs. They like to do drugs in the corner. We really need to be on top of our youth more so than we are already. As always, I remind you to check out the sponsor of the video, which is myself, the Pigcake Card and Coin and Magic Academy. 2 videos a week, $5 a month, over 110 videos already on the Academy, where you could go from a beginner to an expert in magic, again, for a low price. What? Could you ask for anything better? Tutelage by this guy for that much a month? That's it? That's like almost like giving it away.
I want to hurt others like I've been hurt myself.
So today's trick I really do enjoy because you don't do any of the work. You don't do any of the work, but you get all of the credit. Just like stage magicians and their assistants. For some reason, we think, oh, look, he's doing all the work. He's waving his hands over that box. But really, it's the assistant crammed in there like it's a pinky inside of Sarah in the 5th grade prom. Well, you know, let's stop the blabble and get into the trick. So for this trick, you're going to need a deck of cards. Today, I'm going to be using the green cherries because there's nothing that sounds more appetizing than green cherries. I don't even consider a cherry a fruit, to be honest. But we're going to be using this deck of playing cards, and we're not actually going to be using the entire deck. We're only going to be using a couple cards. Why don't we take this seems like an arbitrary amount. Sir, I want you to hold on to this packet and follow my instruction, because it's going to lead to a random set of circumstance that I think maybe you're going to find entirely predictable. So you hand this little packet to the spectator and you mime what you want them to do. You mime with the deck that you want them to take the top 2 cards of the deck, turn it over, and then cut it anywhere they want. So you instruct the spectator to do this, and they turn over the top 2 cards. They could cut the cards before if they want, but they take the top 2 cards, turn them face up on top, and cut the cards. You ask the spectator if they want to do this again, and guess what? They do. 2 cards, cut anywhere they want, and they do it again, because apparently spectators are like monkeys and they're never satisfied. So they could do this as many times as they want, taking 2 cards from the top and cutting it. If you really want to feel a little bit saucy, you could even have them take 4 cards, have them turn it face up, and then cut the cards. What? Normal magicians don't do that, but I do. I do. So whenever the spectator is finished, you have them deal the cards into 2 separate piles. Here I'm just going to separate the piles this way, and you have them make one last decision, the decision to end all decisions here. You have them either turn this pile on top of this pile or this pile on top of this pile, whichever one they want. Let's say the spectators decide. And after the seemingly random set of circumstance where you had the spectator mix cards face up, cards face down, they could have turned over 2, they could have turned over 4, they could have cut where they wanted. Let's see what we ended up having. We ended up having the Jack of Diamonds, the Ace of Hearts, the Ace of Spades, and the 4 of Hearts be the remaining cards that are face up in this pile. We only had 4, and it happens to be these cards: the 4 of Hearts, the Ace of Spades, the Ace of Hearts, and the Jack of Diamonds. Sir, does this mean anything to you? Do these random face up cards mean anything to you? No? Well, I don't know if you know this, sir, but every morning when I wake up, I get a coffee filter and I write playing cards on it, and I shove that in my ass. I don't know if you're aware of this. Today, on the coffee filter that I managed to shove right in my rectum, all up in there, I actually wrote down a couple cards here that you might find interesting. We have the 4 of Hearts. This is a little dirty. We have the 4 of Hearts, the Ace of Hearts, the Jack of Diamonds, and the Ace of Spades. Right there on my ass coffee filter. Thank you. Thank you. And if you want a little souvenir, sir, we'll fold this up and insert it inside of yours. And you'll find that you'll be magical as well. Hey there, boys and girls, mostly boys. So this is a fun little trick you could do anytime you have access to a deck of cards, because you're going to need a little bit of a setup. You're going to need a little tidbit of a setup. It's not a big setup. It's a tiny setup, essentially only of 8 cards, really 4 cards. That's it. We're going to make use of a wonderful principle by Bob Hummer. From all accounts, Bob Hummer was every much of a magician in that he was a very eccentric guy, didn't tend to shower a lot, but he came up with these wonderful principles that we still use today in magic. So this is one of Bob Hummer's principles. OG, Bob Hummer. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take 4 cards that we're going to predict. In this case, we're going to have the 4 of hearts, the ace of spades, jack of diamonds, and the ace of hearts for no reason. Just no reason whatsoever. They're just random cards that I managed to pull out here. And we're going to take another 4 random cards. We're going to insert these cards between these cards. You see that? So now your setup is going every other card. So we have a card that doesn't matter, a card that was told that it's irrelevant by its mother, and an important card. A card that was told, I wish I never adopted you, by its mother, and a special card. And we have another card that was abandoned by its father, and a important card. And then lastly, we have a card that's told every single day, why are you still alive? And then finally, a very important card. Now this setup goes on top of the deck. If you want, you could count these into your hand this way, so that when you end up dealing the cards back onto your hand or the spectator's hand, they end up in the correct order. But it's not going to matter at the end. It's really not. So this goes on top of the deck. That goes inside of your box. And then the other important part is that you grab one of these coffee filters, and you put the names of the cards on the coffee filter. So in this case, you can't see it that well because of the wide angle lens tends to, and then the lighting, you can't. So just pretend you could see them there. Now I like to fold this up in a cone, in a cone right here. And the only other thing you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to shove this in your ass. That's the other problem with this trick. Some people might not like it. Some people think that you could just get away with putting this in your pocket or in your wallet as a prediction. I don't know. That's up to you. But if you want to do this for real, you gotta shove it all in there. You gotta shove it in there. So you gotta just, you know. Oh, all right. Luckily for me, it's very. So this is your setup. That's it. You're gonna fake shuffle the deck, keeping that setup on top. Notice I'm keeping a pinky break. Shuffling. Really doesn't matter, but you're keeping the 8 cards on top of the deck. That's all you're doing. You could do one of these shuffles right here. You could do one of these shuffles. I like this one because it really looks like you're doing a lot when really you're not doing anything. You see the top stock? That's staying there as I'm doing this and really looking like I'm milking the deck. And at any point, you just turn to the spectator and say, sir, we're going to do a random assortment of steps here, and we're going to see if we could tempt fate. So you deal the top 8 cards. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 onto the spectator's hand, and you're gonna guide the spectator through a series of actions here that is pretty much gonna do nothing. It's gonna do nothing because each card is every other card. So you have the ace of hearts, jack of diamonds, ace of spades, and 4 of hearts. So when you're done with the procedure, they're always going to be left with those cards either face up or face down. That's it. And depending on whether they're face up or face down, just going to change your pattern a tidbit, but you're going to see that it doesn't really matter. So you can now have the spectator take the top 2 cards or the top 4 cards of the deck. So 2 or 4. And if you have a bigger pile, it could be any even number. But I find 8 is a good amount of cards to have. So you're going to have 2, have them turn it over and cut the cards anywhere they want. You're more than welcome to use the rest of the deck to mime the actions so they don't end up throwing the cards everywhere. But you just have them turn 2 cards face up and cut the cards anywhere they want, emphasizing that they could cut anywhere. They could turn over 2 cards, they could turn over 4 cards. Again, watching them with a careful eye because spectators tend to be a little bit chaotic, but you make sure that they're doing exactly as you told them. They could cut anywhere, they could turn 2 cards, but ultimately, you're gonna have them deal the cards into 2 piles. So you're gonna have them deal the cards back and forth into 2 distinct and separate piles. And here, you're gonna have them make the last decision. but it really doesn't matter what they say here, because they could turn this pile on top of this pile, or they could turn this pile on top of this pile. It's not really going to do anything whatsoever, because if you notice, you see, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So let's say they turn this pile on top of this other pile. Now you notice that when you spread the cards face up, or when they spread the cards face up, you don't see any of your prediction cards, which tells you that you're gonna have to tell the spectator, sir, you could have mixed this pile any way you wanted. You could have mixed them, you could have turned 2 cards, you could have turned 4, you could have cut anywhere you wanted. But instead, this is where we're at right now because of your random assortment of decisions. But you've left 4 cards face down. Let's see those cards that you've left face down, sir. And of course, the spectator checks those cards, and they happen to be the Ace of Spades, the Jack of Diamonds, the Ace of Hearts, and the 4 of Hearts, the cards that you predicted inside of your bumhole, and you could proceed from there. Now, if those cards were face up, well, it's the same exact thing. This time, you're just changing it up, saying to the spectator, sir, you could have had any cards remain face up. It could have been any cards whatsoever, but instead, we're left with the Ace of Spades, the 4 of Hearts, the Ace of Hearts, and the Jack of Diamonds, which conveniently, I happen to have a prediction inside of my rectum, right in my sphincter. And you could proceed from there. But case in point, all you're doing is making sure these cards go every other card, and that's it. Once you give the instruction to the spectator, they could do it however they want. They could cut wherever they want. They could turn over as many cards as they want. But ultimately, when they deal the cards into 2 piles and they choose which one to place on top of each other, it doesn't matter, because it's always going to be the cards that you had previously predicted. Isn't Bob Hummer a wonderful guy? Isn't Bob Hummer a wonderful guy? Let me just reach in there and oh, yeah, okay. And you see the prediction. This is I really need to do a better job. But here we go. Prediction matches. And you're left with this wonderful picture, this Darwin Ortiz-esque picture of you holding a prediction that you just pulled out of your butt, and the 4 cards that match the prediction right here. Now you can pose. Ah, boy, that's the trick, man. That's the trick. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys subscribe, hit the bell. Hit the bell. That's something that people tend to do, because I don't know how many times I'm doing a live stream and then people come on and say, hey, Pigcake, I didn't know you were on. I didn't know you were on. And I'm like, if there was only a bell icon or a button that you could press to notify you. But even then, you still don't get notifications because YouTube thinks that I'm dirty or whatever. I wonder why. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching my videos. It does mean a lot. Check out the Academy. It does help tremendously. You get some magic, and I get some magic as well in a different way. And that's it. That's it, man. I'm going to go figure out different ways to use Bubblicious tape. Hubba Bubba tape. I can't mix them both. Sorry. Hubba Bubba tape to try to cure Africans.
See you again when I see you again. 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 When I see you again.